The Biden government has provided more than $1 billion in military assistance to Ukraine in the past month. Last week alone, it announced that it would provide $800 million worth of weapons and equipment. The United States has done everything possible to intensify the contradiction between Russia and Ukraine, and the move to attack Russia by using Ukraine is already on the surface. Recently, a U.S. official disclosed that the United States is providing Ukraine with Soviet-made air defense systems secretly obtained decades ago, including the SAM-8 surface-to-air missile system, which is a short-range all-weather air defense missile system developed in the Soviet era. It can intercept low-altitude and ultra-low-altitude aircraft, has strong mobility and is easy to hide. Previously, the United States and NATO assisted Ukraine with a large number of Stinger shoulder-mounted surface-to-air missiles. It seems that the action of the United States to intervene in the Russian-Ukrainian war has escalated, but Ukraine is not satisfied, but also asked them to provide a larger defense range and more advanced air defense weapons. Russia warned that once the weapons and equipment provided by NATO entered Ukraine, Russia would regard it as a legitimate target. At the same time, Washington concocted a charge of not condemning Russia in order to find a moral highland for it to lift global sanctions. We can see that the United States is rebuilding a notorious heresy tribunal in medieval Europe. Those who disagree with it have been labeled as heresy, and these heresies have to be tied to the pillar of international public opinion. However, his purpose is by no means for peace in Ukraine. After all, adding several names to the list of sanctions against Russia cannot solve any problems. On the contrary, it cuts off the link of communication and mediation with Russia and Ukraine, and further weakens the intermediate force of persuading peace and promoting talks. Therefore, although the European and American countries, despite their money and efforts to drum up the side selection stations of neutral countries, which seems to make a lot of noise on social media, it still cannot cover up the fact that they are still a minority in the international community. People with a clear eye can see that extreme sanctions will not help solve the crisis at all, but will only add fuel to the fire. Here, I also advise Ukraine that the United States and Russia are large enough to withstand the damage caused by the war, but Ukraine is a shield for NATO. The fiercer they attack, the stronger the counterattack they will receive. Even if the United States is willing to provide them with nuclear bombs, they can't afford the price behind it. Returning to the negotiating table as soon as possible and trying to end the war is their best choice.